67 Collective, we're here to dominate. We're the kings of real estate, we control the face.
Here we go, back again. Conversations with Broker Brad. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here, everyone, our studio audience. Appreciate that. Would like to introduce my next guest, Heather Ford. Come on in, Heather Ford.
Hello, Brad.
See? Isn't that nice?
That's lovely.
It's nice to have so many people here supporting you.
It's very enthusiastic.
Right?
This is a very large chair. Okay, there we go.
Oh, there you go. I like it. So, it's probably a good thing to do that because I find that as I'm talking, John and I discovered that these chairs are so soft that you slide down, but at a very slow pace.
Well, if I were to sit back all the way in the chair, my feet wouldn't touch the floor.
You're not wrong. Okay. There's no way.
It's a little more comfortable.
Okay. Well, she's not telling a lie. Okay.
Short people problems.
That is funny. Heather, we have done a podcast before. We were sitting in a room. They were continuing educating us.
Yep.
And they were talking about podcasts, and me, you, and Chuck were like, let's do a podcast.
Yeah, that was like, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just hiccuped on the microphone.
Yeah, our podcast was not quite as long-lived as I had hoped. But
Yeah.
we've talked about revamping it, but our lives are just so
It's
busy
difficult.
now. Yeah.
Right. No, I mean, in general, anything like media driven, you have to get out of this like consumer mindset of like, oh, this is fun to watch, this is interesting to listen to, and have it be more of a, this is okay, these are the steps I need to take, these are the things that I need to do, this is the job that I'm going to do on my podcast to do my podcast. Because otherwise, yeah, it really, I don't know, yeah, it does not become, it's not a priority.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's really just about putting out content.
Right.
Right.
Which, like, especially for our generation, even though you're like 5 years younger than I am, it's something to where we're not used to that stuff. We got AOL, and it was like awesome. I stole my dad's credit card just so I could sign up for AOL, even though it was free with the CD-ROM, whatever. Yeah. So we're different in that regards. Like, we don't. I don't know. We're just not about the content. It doesn't come naturally for us. I still feel really weird all the time as I have to take out my phone and take a picture of something or take a video.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It is. Yeah, like I'm working on a day in the life of myself as a real estate agent. And it's very hard for me to like, oh, I got to get my phone out and record this, you know?
Right.
As opposed to like the youths of the world today.
The youths.
Youths. They record everything.
Oh,
like my sons who are 14 and 16, they have Snapchat and they communicate with their friends that way. They don't text each other. They don't call.
Snap.
They just snap. And it's just like a picture of whatever they're doing. I'm eating a bowl of ramen or
Right.
I'm in the car with my mom.
Right.
You know, and sometimes it's even just like the ceiling of where they're at.
Oh,
it's so strange.
Yeah.
And because, you know, I monitor it because I'm very
absolutely good for you.
Suspicious of their activities.
You're a parent. It's okay. Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you send each other all day?
Right. Yeah.
And it's not inappropriate. It's just weird.
Just dumb and weird. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So yeah, it's a different world that we live in. But no, I've told several people, like one of the things that has like given me inspiration, I guess, to do the podcast like this, just way more informal and more laid back, is like the most popular podcasts I feel like out there are very much that way also. They're not super rigid and like, okay, here's the schedule of things we have to talk about. It's not like that. It's more like, okay, so Theo Vaughn, like I love his podcast. I know he's the biggest goofball in the world, but
I like the way he talks.
Oh my God. So awesome. I really more and more am thinking that it's like a persona.
Yeah.
that he does.
Absolutely.
Which makes me respect him even more, that he has discipline enough to like have
to create a character. And
yeah, I love it. So, but he's been like a main kind of point of inspiration because he has his podcast that he does where he brings on celebrities, well-known names and faces, and they don't talk about them at all.
Yeah.
Like they don't talk about what they're doing. They don't talk about, well, which house you have and which cars you drive and all the normal things that people talk about. It's very much just people talking to people. So I always really liked that. And that's what I wanted to do with our podcast was just, let's just talk to there's people talking to people.
Yeah.
Sort of a thing.
Fun fact, that's one of my favorite or my least favorite things that people ask each other. Like what? I do it, you do it. Hey, how are you doing? What's
small talk?
New? Yeah. What's new?
Hate it.
I hate that
I'm
question.
With you. Yeah.
Because I'm not what you call socially awkward totally.
Right.
But I'm like, I don't know, what's new? Like I work, I take care of my kids, I do things with my husband, I see my parents. So I mean, but that's pretty standard. So I don't know if you call that new.
Right. Oh, sure.
And then I feel like I have the pressure to come up with something new. Like, oh, I just bought some hot rollers from Target. So that's new, I guess.
That's new. Yeah.
You know? So I would much rather be like, you know, like, what'd you have for dinner last night?
Yeah, totally.
You know, something.
Right, just normal.
Yeah.
So do you find yourself, okay, because I do this.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself, though, then, like, after the fact, either talking to Chuck or just realizing on your own that you're like, oh, I guess I did just have this major life event.
Yes.
That I probably should have told him about.
Yeah. I don't think
happen?
I don't think about that in the moment. Like, yeah. And I can't even think of an example right now of what that would even be.
Right,
but yeah,
right.
if something truly did happen to my life that was new, I probably wouldn't come up with it in the moment I'm talking to someone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. So Heather and I are we're very alike, aside from the fact that she looks a lot better than I do. But we share very similar things. We do that exact same thing though. And so I first realized that with my in-laws, that they like the small talk thing, because they're very good at it to where when someone's like, oh, what's new? Well, they tell them. But right? It's so kind of funny to say. How do you do that? Because I'm with you. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
And I don't like doing it.
Yeah.
And so it like for me too, I love talking to people. Yep. Love learning about people.
Same.
But I don't necessarily like telling people about myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, I'm just me.
But if I do tell people about myself, I usually overshare. Like I tell them more than what they were asking about or wanted to know, or I go off on a tangent.
Yeah, right.
I mean, so it's just feast or famine, baby.
So I found that to be like the measuring stick though of, okay, so is how interested is somebody truly in you when because I'll do the same thing. I'll start to share things and I'm like, okay, when, if ever, am I going to see the look on their face of, okay,
yeah,
that's not what I was hoping for. Just looking for a doing fine or not, sort of a thing. Because it's those people that you're like, okay, good. So I know that I can just brush you off with the small talk, and then the other people they're like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
you might be somebody I want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that with my clients sometimes. Like, we're either just service level having conversation about, the house that we're looking at, how was your day, whatever. Or we're talking about toilet stuff. Like,
yeah.
I mean, like getting into it.
Yeah.
And I love all my clients, but I much prefer those because I can be myself. I mean, not that I talk about that all the time.
Oh,
but
sure. Yeah.
We can talk about human things together, you know, and it's a lot more fun. One of them, in fact, told me the other day, you don't have to get dressed up to come show us a house.
Oh, they told you that?
I don't like wear suits or anything to show houses, but I'll wear like a cotton dress or something.
Something nice, yeah.
Maybe something like this, but and I'm like, that's great and thank you. But I've been to showings where I've been in gym clothes before.
Yeah.
And other agents or people who are around the property didn't know I was the agent. They just thought I was
because you have your dress.
Yeah, because I'm some random person. So it's not really for you. It's really so people know that we're not breaking into this house.
Absolutely. Good point, right? Totally. I mean gosh, more often than not, so again, I'm not used to, I think unfortunately, you have probably experienced this more often just being a woman. I don't get looked up and down a lot, right? So when people do it, it's weird AF. But the only times that it's ever happened have been in real estate situations where, yeah, I'll be casual and somebody else will be like, who are you?
Are you the brother?
Right, yeah.
Cousin?
You're the hobo that lives here? Or who
you're just tagging along?
Right. So I totally understand what you're saying with that. Oh gosh, yeah. So no, that's something that I absolutely get. Okay, so here, basic stuff. So Heather and Chuck's your husband.
Yes.
You work together. You and Chuck have not been married that long, right?
4.5 years.
4.5 years, yeah. So it was still, don't start crying or something, but still one of the highlights of my day, week, month, year, whatever, when I met Heather and she knew me because she cheered with my wife at Hershey High School. There was just this, like, for me, at least, you don't have to be like, oh yeah, me too. It's fine. It's just me. For me, there was this like instant connection with Heather because we had this commonality that I'm like, geez, I don't have that in common with anybody else.
Yeah.
So that was super cool for me when I first met Heather. That we had that in common, and we've just been, her and Chuck and I, we all have just been together ever since, sort of a thing. We like to do stuff,
it was really cool because at the time that we met you to discuss like joining the brokerage, I didn't know that Emily McConnell was your wife,
right?
So I went home and Facebook stalked you, like
like you do,
like normal.
Yep.
And I'm like, that girl looks familiar. I'm like, I know that girl. That's not Emily Holst. That's Emily McConnell.
Right.
And I don't remember if I told you like right away or maybe the next time we saw you.
Yeah, I think it was the next time.
But we went. It was a very, very small town, Hershey, Nebraska.
Right.
A very small high school. We were cheerleaders together, I think, at least 2 years, if not 3. But yeah, there was a year where we didn't really have any seniors.
Oh, yeah.
So I believe, or maybe I'm thinking this wrong, and Emily might have a better memory than I do.
Oh, yeah.
But we were co-captains together. Like,
yeah, that's okay. That was the other thing. You were co-captains.
Yeah, she's a year ahead of me. And I don't know if they just didn't want to pick like a captain and a co-captain, but we were captains together. So.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
It was fun.
It was totally fun. I loved it. It was something super cool to learn. But so you guys have been married for 4 years, in real estate for 3. How many years have you been in real estate? Does that sound right?
This will be our 4th year.
This is your 4th year. Yeah. Okay.
So I started studying in August of 2020. Took our tests in October of 2020, and then I got the ball rolling.
So Chuck had been licensed before.
Yeah, 2008, 2010 when
totally difficult time.
The bubble burst.
Yep, I was around back then. Yeah,
Yep.
that was a hard time.
Yep. So that was Obama gave a housing credit, right?
Yeah, the first time home buyer credit.
First time home buyer credit, and so everybody was buying. And then houses were sitting on the market because we had lots of inventory. And then, he didn't have a deal for a couple months. And he was married to his first wife and had 3 kids that they had to take care of. And it just couldn't do that.
It's a rough time.
So, he got out of real estate and he had retired from the VA. And I was still working at the VA. And it wasn't a bad job, but it was very demanding, I guess, and stressful.
Right.
And I really wanted to do something that was more flexible, I suppose.
Nice, yeah.
So we decided to get back into it together.
At what point did he work for the university?
That would have been, gosh.
A long time.
I want to say, I feel like maybe that was before. Yeah, that would have been before real estate.
Okay.
So that would have been maybe around, I want to say 2003, maybe 2004. The measuring stick that I have is kind of a difficult one because his son had brain cancer in 2005.
Oh.
And he left Haymarket Park around that time.
Okay.
But he had been a groundskeeper at Memorial Stadium, and then he moved over to Haymarket Park, and then that's when he left the university.
Has he ever dressed up as groundskeeper Willie for Halloween?
I don't think so.
Literally just had that excellent idea. As you said, groundskeeper.
That would be amazing.
Groundskeeper Willie.
Chuck's not a big Halloween dresser upper person.
Even though he did amazing 2 years ago.
Yes. He could, and if I come up with an idea and put it all together, he'll totally get into it. But if he has to come up with it himself or gather supplies. It's
Sure. Yeah. No, and I shouldn't even laugh that hard.
Willie.
I shouldn't laugh that hard because I'm the same way. I really don't like Halloween very much at all. And it's ironic because Emily doesn't really either.
Yeah.
So it's like we don't, newsflash, we don't dress up.
If I get excited about something that I find humorous or satirical or I don't know, punny even, then I'll get into it. But I can go without not dressing up for Halloween.
For Halloween, yeah. Oh, I gotcha. So, so here's the interesting things that I know about you, so that we'll tell people, and then you can expand on outside of real estate, because we talk a little bit about that stuff already. But so so Heather, you're gonna be like, don't hate me if I say this wrong. Heather does CrossFit. I know it sounds very simplistic, but who would you say got into CrossFit first, you or Chuck?
It was Chuck.
It was Chuck that did it first. Yes. Okay. So we once had a company outing, and we're going to flash up this picture of the company outing that we did, and we did CrossFit at, what was the name of the gym?
It's Lincoln Nutrition and Fitness.
Lincoln Nutrition and Fitness.
Home of CrossFit Lincoln.
Home of CrossFit Lincoln.
So you could just call it CrossFit Lincoln for short.
Oh, there you go. So you can call it CrossFit Lincoln.
Yeah.
Now you still are actively engaged with CrossFit Lincoln and with that gym, right?
Yep, correct.
Okay. So what do you do?
I coach.
Yeah.
So I'm a level 2 CrossFit coach. So there's level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. So the unique thing about CrossFit is that unlike other gyms, you go and you just work on the machine by yourself. Sometimes you'll take a class.
Right.
A lot of times in those classes, the trainer's working out with you, like, let's go.
Like one-on-one?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, like if you take like a spin class, the trainer's on the bike also.
Right. My bad. Yes. Okay. Sure.
Yeah. Or like jazzercise. The trainer is
with you
is in the front of the room doing the same movements you are.
Right.
So you're just kind of following them. So the unique thing about CrossFit is that each class, the trainer is there to instruct, demonstrate, and then give feedback. So they're not doing the workout in the class. They are taking you through it to make sure that you have good forms.
Yeah.
And that you get the intended stimulus out of the workout.
Sure. Right.
The workout's always different. You're never. I won't say never, but you rarely do the same workout over again unless it's for measurement purposes, or we have benchmark workouts also. But yeah, so I coach group class, and I program and coach a Legends class twice a week.
What's Legends?
55 plus.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
It is CrossFit style. I mean, you could call it CrossFit for sure. It's a little bit, I wouldn't say watered down too much, but it's scaled down to meet.
Yeah.
Well, any CrossFit class can be scaled to where you are. So we could take a general population into a CrossFit gym, and everybody would get a good workout at different levels.
Gotcha. Okay. So it was funny too, because Heather, you could tell Heather and Chuck are so deep into CrossFit and so knowledgeable about it that when we did the workout, Heather knew exactly where I was hurting. Like she knew, like, I mean, not to say, oh, Brad, is your back hurting or your legs hurting? But she was like, oh, is it in your lower thigh right now today? She's like, oh, because in 3 days it's going to be here, this other place. I'm like, what on earth? She knew exactly where it was going to be. I thought that was the weirdest and kind of fun thing about it. Is that she knew exactly where it was going to be.
I generally know where you're going to be sore after a particular workout. So yeah, I didn't realize that was a skill that I had, but I guess maybe it is.
It is, yeah. So you're certified, level 2 certified. Then you teach the Legends class, but then also you teach something else too, don't you?
Yep. I'm a birth fit coach and leader is what it's called. So it's another certification, and it's really primarily for, I like to say, any woman.
Yeah.
Any female, because as a female, you're in either one of 3 stages of life: preconception, prenatal, postpartum.
Gotcha.
So if you never have kids, you're always going to be preconception.
Right.
Even if you had kids 10 years ago, you're still postpartum.
Yeah.
So it's really training specifically for women to...
Nice. Because
one of the phrases that I learned while I was doing birth fit training was, women are not tiny men.
Right.
So, I'm a very, kind of independent, strong woman, but our bodies are different than men.
Yep.
So we really should be training different.
Yeah.
Like we should think about our cycles when we're training. We should think about developing core strength a little bit different than men.
Definitely right.
But, on the other hand, too, like a lot of men have similar core issues that women have, like something called diastasis rectus. It's where your abdominal muscles separate, either due to injury or overuse or something.
Wow,
a lot of times for women, it'll happen during birth or pregnancy.
Well, I was going to say that I feel like that's something that I've heard a lot of women talk about. Yeah, after they've given birth, is that their abdominal muscles are
and so that creates core dysfunction, and it's something that you really have to focus on building. And sit-ups aren't going to help you repair it, unfortunately.
Right.
So a lot of that is breath work, and then just really focused, intentional movements. To strengthen the deep core.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. Well, I mean, again, not to get too deep into that whole conversation, but I love it. What you said, where it's like, women are not tiny men. So people that try to, even people like me, that we just try to make it simple for us to understand. And it's like, well, okay, no, that's not it. That's not what it is. Now, but it's not also the complete other side of the spectrum of, well, we're the same. Yeah. We're not the same. Yeah. Yes, there's differences, but also, we're not. It's not one of these two ends of the spectrum. It's in the middle.
Right. Exactly.
So,
and not to say that I don't want to get into a whole gender discussion. But one thing I love about CrossFit is that women and men are in the same class, and we're doing the same movements. It's just women are generally going to be doing less weight than men. Right. Just because there is physiological disparity in power output, but also another cool fun fact is there's a whole other separate side to CrossFit, the CrossFit Games.
Oh, right.
I love to watch. So that's like the sport of CrossFit. And the games have only been around since 2007, I believe was the first year. But the podium finishers, men and women, have always been paid out the same amount.
Oh, really? Oh, that's kind of cool.
So I love that because other sports are struggling with that right now.
Very much so. Yeah, definitely.
Because from the beginning, men, there either wasn't a women professional sport. Right. And I'm thinking specifically of Caitlin Clark, of course.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
But there, women's sports are behind professionally than men's sports. And so, there's that payment disparity. But CrossFit, we've always had the same payout.
Yeah.
So that's
that is totally cool. I did not realize that. Yeah. It's in Wisconsin?
So it's been in Wisconsin, the CrossFit Games, the last, I want to say since 2017 or maybe 2018 was the first year. Yeah. And this year it's going to be in Fort Worth, Texas.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So is it going to be at a different time of year then too because of the
No,
climate
it's
and
about the
things?
same time of year.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. I do believe that it is mostly an indoor facility this year.
Oh,
that
in
will
Fort
be
Worth.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. That was okay. It's a complete tangent. When my parents lived in Houston, Texas for like 3 or 4 years, one year when we were down there during the summer and we were getting some things for the families that were all kind of coming down to visit, they had a pool and everything. We were in a store and we wanted to get some outdoor toys for kids. And I like couldn't really find anything. And I was asking my dad, I'm like, what the heck? Where is everything? Where these basic things that shovels, sand toys, beach toys, stuff like that. I'm like, where's all the stuff? He's like, for the most part, because it's so hot down here, people don't play outside. Like they stay indoors. I mean, by the pool is one thing, pool toys maybe,
Yeah.
but in terms of like other stuff to play
Outdoor
with,
toys.
it wasn't there. And it blew my mind that it was that way.
Yeah.
So as you're like, oh well, yeah, it's mostly indoors. Like, well, yeah, I get that's kind of how it works down there,
Probably, needed.
especially in the summertime. Yeah. So anywho, so CrossFit, it's been fun. It's fun for me to hear you guys talk about it because I feel like I learn little bits and pieces. I remember one time you were telling me about some of the oh gosh, not the factual, but the substantive benefits of the different CrossFit exercises that you do in relation to everyday activities, such as picking up groceries. And I forget the other example that you had given me, but that was the one that stands out in my mind. But there's several like that, though, that I really loved.
Yeah, it's really, so CrossFit is the brand, but it's functional fitness. So, I mean, there are other functional fitness gyms in Lincoln specifically.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but CrossFit is the brand that kind of put it into practice, you know. So functional fitness is just training for everyday life. We have a lot of first responders and military. CrossFit has a lot of military ties.
Okay.
Because it's very beneficial for them to train that way because you have to be able to carry bodies or heavy things or run fast.
Sure.
You have to be able to do all those things in those jobs. So
Right.
that's what CrossFit prepares you for. But yeah, just everyday life. Like my 55 plus class, they want to live independently as long as they possibly can.
Totally.
And in order for them to do that, they have to, the number one thing that determines longevity is being able to sit on a toilet
I was just
and
going to
get
say,
back up.
yeah, right? Okay.
And that's a squat, right?
Yep.
So you have to be able to squat for as long as possible unassisted. Or, you know, if you have to hold on to something, fine. But
Right.
but yeah, or falling down and getting back up.
Right.
That's huge.
Yeah.
A lot of times, you know, it happened to my grandmother. You fall and it starts like a domino effect of decline in your overall health, mental, physical, everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, being able to pick yourself up off the floor, carrying groceries. I mean, those are all equate to what we do in the gym.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's again, it speaks to me as a person that dislikes exercise because it's like I enjoy competitive sports and doing things that you can win at. And so like running and jogging, those things I hate.
Yeah.
Because yes, you can enter a race. I understand that part, but in general, it's like I can't score 2 points practicing for a marathon
Right.
whereas I can do that in basketball. You know, I can do that in other sports. And so with CrossFit, that's been something that's been kind of cool for me to just learn from you guys is just the very practical applications.
Yeah.
I always thought it was really, really fun.
Well, in CrossFit, you always log your score.
Oh, yeah?
Your score is always different for each workout. So like
Okay.
sometimes it's for time, sometimes it's for weight,
Yeah.
sometimes it's for reps. So you always log your score and keep track of, and that's really for you, not for anybody
Right.
else.
And for, not for anybody else. Yeah, that's true. So yeah. So again, always something that's been kind of interesting for me. About Heather and Chuck too, but we won't talk about Chuck. He's not here. When we want to do something with Chuck,
He
we'll
did
talk
get
about
me
him.
into it though. He was living in Colorado, and one of his coworkers, who was one of his best friends out there, coached at one point also.
Oh, also, yeah.
So he's like, hey, you got to come to this gym. And then I ended up going out there for a month for a work detail. So he's like, well, while you're out here, you're going to come to CrossFit with me. And I didn't want to do it because it wasn't my idea.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't like to do things that aren't my idea.
Sure, I get that.
And Chuck will attest to that.
Right, yeah.
But I did it. I didn't go back the next day because I was being a big baby. But then after that, I went again.
Yeah. So okay, I thought of a question I wanted to ask you that we've never asked you because we never talked about it, but I've always wanted to know. That sounds weird. I haven't always wanted to know. It's just curious. You're gonna understand as soon as I ask the question. How long ago did you get your first tattoo that I see on your arm?
Oh, well, that's not my first tattoo.
It's not your first tattoo. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My first tattoo is a star on my, I think.
Do you have them just mainly on your upper body?
Yeah.
Or do you have some ankle stuff like that? Okay.
Nope. I just have them on my arms and my back.
Okay.
I got my first tattoo when I was 16, Brad.
Really?
Yeah.
So when you're 16 and getting a tattoo, do you just have to get your parents' permission technically, or did you just slip them an extra $20?
No, I had to get my parents, and I did get my parents' permission. I created a PowerPoint presentation to explain to my parents why I needed to get a tattoo and what I had the tattoo specifically picked out. And,
okay.
And why it had meaning to me.
Yeah.
And it was mostly fluff, a little bit of BS in there. But I'm just a very stubborn person. And when I want to do something, I really, I'm just going to do it.
Just going to do it. Yeah.
So
right or wrong,
good idea or bad idea.
Right.
But my parents were like, okay. So my dad went with me. I think my mom did too, but my dad went with me. And he got his first tattoo that day too.
Also, okay, that's kind of fun.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool that your dad got his too.
Yeah, I mean, he was a sailor, and he was in the Navy, and he didn't get one then.
I was gonna say he didn't get one while in the Navy.
No.
Oh wow, okay.
So, but he's gotten several after that. Yeah.
So how many do you have? Do you know?
I have 4.
You have 4. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you've got them in kind of close proximity.
Yeah, this is technically one. This is kind of one. And then I have 2 more on my back.
2 on your back. Gotcha.
Yeah. I'd love to get more. I like tattoos.
Do you like them in general?
Yeah.
I showed Heather this one time. I don't know if you're here recently. That whenever you wear a tank top and you've got your tattoo showing, I always think of the villain in Iron Man 3. That like he has these crazy dragon tattoos that glow when he's killing people. Anyways, so that's what I always think of Heather because she's very built. Villain. And yes, the villain. It's the crazy guy that glows. Yeah. It's totally fine. Because you're very built on your upper arms, so that you've had the tattoos up there just like he does. So every time, I always think about that. Yeah. In a playful and nice way, though. Not in an evil way.
Not in a villain evil way.
No, not in a villainy way.
All right, that's fair.
That's good. Oh, my gosh. Well, so those are the things that I had about Heather. Again, hopefully, I always hope that I learn new things every time when I talk to people. I've learned new things in talking to you even today. It's fun for me. Like it's just fun for me. So again, hopefully people that do end up watching these as well have a similar sort of reaction that they're like, oh, that's so cool that Heather does this. And then as I talk to other people that they find interest in it as well. So that's always just my goal. Pretty simple in conversations with Broker Brad. We just do that stuff. So anyways, that's it, Heather. Okay. We'll just stop and we'll talk to somebody else next time. So keep watching or tell your friends to start watching, all those things. And we'll do that.
Share, like, subscribe, all that.
Yeah, those things. Yeah, sure.
The things that you do.
I don't even know if people say that anymore.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I mean, I feel like you should.
Yeah.
Remind people. Like, just follow me online.
Oh, man. All right.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Heather. 11.
Peace out. A-Town.
There's